Welcome to Peace News. It's Tuesday, September 30th, 2014. You can listen online at lrn.fm. That's the Liberty Radio Network. You can also catch us live on video at peacenewsnow.com/live. There you'll see a chat room with other listeners. You can join in the conversation. I'm signed in. So let's get talking. There's a lot of peaceful resistance news to cover today. In headlines, we've got jail for profit, a new ISIS video, be very afraid. A man records himself in a courtroom wearing an F the Police t-shirt. Social critic Camille Paglia penned a terrific article this week at Time magazine, time.com. Stop infantilizing college campuses. That's not her headline, but that's basically her gist, and I want to get to that story. Plus, Glenn Greenwald reports at The Intercept, his website. First look on fake terror threat justifies new war. Why does he think ISIS is somehow a fake terror threat? We just heard on Free Talk Live, Johnny Ray is very afraid of ISIS. Thinks they're real, and I think they're real too. I think there's some real parts and some unreal parts, and let's parse those out. We've got a video, how to fake an ISIS beheading. So maybe you might be making your own. And Assange, Julian Assange, appeared in the United States. No, he didn't leave his embassy in Ecuador, or in London, rather. It's the Ecuadorian embassy, I think it's in the UK. No, he didn't leave. He appeared via hologram. Oh, and the 911 caller who called from Walmart to report John Crawford III looking at a firearm and a BB gun in the Walmart store, saying that he pointed it at someone and then called 911 on him. Yeah, it turns out that was a lie. So you don't call the police on people. They just might kill the person you're calling them on, whether it's for good or for bad. Oh, and a body cam shows that a cop shot an unarmed man, and the DA ruled that justified. We've got all those stories and more. Plus, you can call in, take control, share your stories of peaceful resistance at 443-424-8347. That's the Hi-Fi Civ Disc call-in line. You can also Skype into the program by sending a contact request to Peace News Now. Your contact request will be accepted, and I will put you on the air. Now let's turn to the ISIS video. Be very afraid. This is a new video featuring a North American jihadist. Take a listen. This from KTVL.
55-minute film. He appears only at the end, but his voice resonates all the way to Washington, where a U.S. official tells CNN the intelligence community is analyzing this video, trying to determine this man's origin.
And we're here with the soldiers of Bashar. You can see them now digging their own graves in the very place where they were stationed.
This masked ISIS militant gloats as he presides over the executions of Syrians apparently captured from a military base near Raqqa.
They said that we abandoned the fronts and stopped fighting the kuffar to turn our guns towards the Muslims. They lied. Wallahi, we are the harshest towards the kuffar. And the flames of war are only beginning to intensify.
He speaks perfect English.
This is the end of every Nusayri kafir that we get a hold of.
He could be Arab and educated in the West. He could be American or Canadian.
Clearly, ISIS had a calculated step to be able to put this guy on camera. Why? Because he seems American. The message is aimed at a Western audience, and his intent is to A, project fear to the United States, and B, to instill and give this sense of a projection of power.
The entire...
What do you think so far? I mean, you've just taken a listen of the very brief clip. He sounds American, this man. He's wearing a full covering of his mask. You can only see his eyes. He's got military camo from head to toe, military-style boots. It's impossible to tell who this person is. You know, people are speculating, oh, he speaks English like a CIA agent. No, of course, there's always going to be someone speculating that the enemy is really... the CIA, that this is an illusion, things aren't really what they seem. I don't know. I don't have the facts. all I've got is this video. And it's strange to me that ISIS is putting out so many well-produced videos. Maybe it's just a matter of course that as time moves on, technology progresses, the enemy, in air quotes, is going to utilize technology to appear. You know, they're not putting out propaganda flicks of the 1940s. Let's just say that. That used to be the style. You know, degrade the enemy, make them appear inhuman, rile up emotion, and get support for war. Is that what's happening today? Ask yourself that question as we continue this video from ISIS.
Video is pure ISIS propaganda, stylishly edited battle scenes featuring the enemy's heavy armor getting blown apart. But a crucial moment comes in the film's final minutes, when the masked ISIS militant and his comrades ready their guns and appear to execute the Syrians who dug their own graves.
If this is a North American, this is quite extraordinary because it would be the first time that a North American ISIS fighter has committed a war crime on camera.
A U.S.
Okay, yeah, so they don't show killings in these videos, and I think that's important. Like, during the ISIS beheading videos, they show like a little bit of incision or whatever, like, oh, I'm starting to saw off his head with a knife, and then cut to black, and then, oh, you see his head is beheaded. They don't actually show the violence. They'll show the bombs blowing up. They'll show trucks blowing up. Why wouldn't they show a beheading? Why wouldn't they show, you know, where they're executing those prisoners and putting them against a firing line, making them dig their own graves? It just looks like a show to me. I don't know. That's my first impression. What do you think? You can call in, share your thoughts. 443-424-8347. Do you think this is a fake? Is this the real thing? Are you afraid of ISIS?
official says it's too early to tell where his dialect is from.
Wallahi, the fighting has just begun.
How will they find clues?
It's going to be voice analysis.
Sounds like
They're
Obama
going
to me.
be looking at any
Not saying it is,
particular,
but that's what it sounds like.
Accents they may have, anything that could tip off law enforcement, where they can then pull the thread even further in terms of state and local, to meet with some of the communities.
Did ISIS slip up and expose this man by having him say and do too much on camera? Analyst Frank Salufo says maybe not. The value for them, he says, is in propaganda and recruiting. And if this man gets captured or killed, they have plenty more Westerners in their ranks. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most important points about these ISIS videos is that they want to appear to be the American enemy. This point was made on Free Talk Live tonight, that if other countries in the Middle East are going to... Well, here's the plan. You know, if ISIS is a group of people who wants to start their own country or state, they call themselves the Islamic State, then they're going to meet some resistance from their neighbors in the Middle East. They're not going to like that. They're going to want some land. They're going to want recognition. They're going to want, quote unquote, sovereignty. But if ISIS can position themselves as some sort of major enemy of the West or major enemy of the U.S. Anglo-American empire, then maybe the other countries in the Middle East will have their back. It's unclear. It's just speculation on my part. I'd love to know what you think, but let's continue. Let's not be afraid of these silly propaganda videos. You know, it's sad. It's a shame whenever people die as a part of war. But for the most part, if you're not someone who volunteers to go over and blow people up, and you're not a journalist walking into harm's way knowingly, then it's pretty unlikely that you're going to be captured by a member of ISIS and beheaded. So, you know, while it's unfortunate that there have been losses, it's not like any of the losses didn't know what they were getting into. So I have sympathy, but not too much. Let's continue from the stories that we've got prepared for you. The story from freekeen.com. I almost forgot. Ian found guilty on ID crimes. He's facing up to 2 years in prison. He blogged about this earlier today at freekeen.com. Already 30 comments in. It's a viral article. We'll get to that and more when Peace News Now returns. I want to hear from you. Send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now, and I'll put you on the air.
On LRN LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with Bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful 0.999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with Bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm. Keenvention is coming up October 31st through November 2nd. Get your tickets now at keenvention.info. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, attend social events like the costume party. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, James Robin Hood Cleveland, Rich Paul, and Free State Project President Carla Garrick will be keynoting. And we'll have all kinds of panels, including the new Cop Block panel and the new Movers panel hosted by the outlaw Josie Wales. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. Only 100 tickets are available in advance, so lock yours in now for just $60 or with Bitcoin. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil disobedience, we have it all. Where I came from, it felt that no matter what I did, liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's post pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement. And they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook. While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is Peace News. We're talking about stories of peaceful resistance, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Keene, New Hampshire in some capacity. This is the place where peaceful resistance is really making a home. You can learn more about that at freekeene.com or freestateproject.org. I moved to Keene, New Hampshire as with part of the goal of increasing the freedom in my life, and you can do the same. There are over 150 or so reasons to move to Keene. There are over 101 reasons to move to New Hampshire, and many more that probably just didn't make the list. There's actually a video that's coming out shortly. I think it will debut at Keenvention here in Keene, New Hampshire, November 1st, or very early, or I'm not sure. Yeah, if it's going to be very early in the morning, November 1st, or very late, October 31st. Either way, catch it, Keenvention, keenvention.info. Tickets are just $60. I'm going to be throwing the most awesome dance party that I've ever thrown, for sure, and probably the party of the year as far as dance parties go in the Free State Project. It's second only to the big gay dance party that happens at PorcFest. Hard to top that one. A lot of effort goes into making those fun. But I am really planning a Halloween dance party. If you can make it down to Keene, if you can't make it to the whole Keenvention, you can still come to the dance party. So that will be happening October 31st on Halloween, and promise it's going to be a great time. So come on out, and all proceeds go to support Andrew Jones of the Silk Road. I don't know what to call it. He's facing charges. He's facing life in prison over allegedly being the operator of a website called the Silk Road. It's just ridiculous, and people like him need our support. He is a signer of the Free State Project. He is a participant with the intention to move to New Hampshire, join the community, increase freedom, but he was captured by the feds. So he needs your support, and you can donate at drewsdefense.org, or you can donate when you make it to Keenvention, because the party is all happening for him. So come on down, keenvention.info. Now let's turn to freekeen.com, which has an article Ian Freeman penned earlier today about himself. Ian found guilty on ID crimes, in air quotes, facing up to 2 years in prison. This is very serious. Earlier this year, I was surprised by the state police with an arrest for unsworn falsification and prohibitions. Essentially, they were charging me with 2 Class A misdemeanors for filling out their driver's license application incorrectly. As it turns out, had I filed it the same way 2 days prior, it would have been completely legal. Despite referring to me as a customer, they treated me like a criminal rather than simply helping me correct the mistake as any actual business who cares about their customers. They alleged I used a false name, my given name of Ian Bernard, to apply for their license when I apparently should have used my own now legal name of Ian Freeman. At no point until my arrest was I given any indication that this was illegal. The ladies at the DMV were aware of my use of both names and happily processed the application. I attempted to make it clear during the trial that I did not knowingly use a false name, as I don't consider my given name to be false, nor was I attempting to defraud anyone. No one has claimed I defrauded them ever. I honor my word, regardless of the name I use. None of that mattered in the decision that came by mail after the trial, which found me guilty on both counts. Sentencing is still to come, but I'm facing as much as 2 years in prison. The last time I was in jail was 2011 for the civil disobedience of blocking a police car when they were attempting to arrest a peaceful woman for drinking alcohol in Central Square. In that case, I was sentenced to 90 days in jail and 9 more months suspended for 2 years. Will Judge Burke decide that these ID crimes, which have no victim, deserve a more serious punishment than civil disobedience? Stay tuned to freekeen.com to find out. And if you want to watch the whole video of Ian's trial, which I, full disclosure, have not watched, but I hear is incredible and will make the time to do that, to watch it. I hear he makes the case pretty clearly that he should be set free, that this case should be thrown out, and that using your birth name should not be a crime. But the judge will determine whether or not that is the case. Now let's also turn to a story, another one from freekeen.com, where not Ian Freeman, but Daryl W. Perry writes, "There is blood on Maggie Hassan's hands." And this is important because focusing on increasing New Hampshire's freedom means focusing on what bureaucrats are doing here. And Maggie Hassan is the governor of New Hampshire. He says, and I'll just read an excerpt. It's quite a long article. You can catch the full story at freecane.com. He says, Maggie Hassan has blood on her hands. You might not see it at first, but it's there. Look closely. You'll see it. On July 23rd, 2013, New Hampshire became the 19th state to legalize medicinal use of cannabis. The original version of the therapeutic cannabis bill would have allowed qualifying patients to grow their own medicine if certain criteria were met. However, Maggie Hassan threatened to veto the legislation if this provision wasn't removed, despite the fact that she voted for a similar provision in 2009. This is a freedom enjoyed by therapeutic cannabis patients in Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, and a dozen other states. Now, over 1 year later, qualifying patients are still not able to legally obtain the medicine they need. The process is so arduous that it may be another 18 months before therapeutic cannabis patients in the Granite State will be able to legally obtain their medicine from one of 4 alternative treatment centers. 4, that's it? How many drug dealers, how many pot dealers do you think there are in New Hampshire? Do you think that these therapeutic cannabis patients really need to go to one of 4 alternative treatment centers? Of course, if they don't know any people who sell pot, they would, but 18 months, they're going to have to wait? I think they can find a pot dealer within 18 months. Looks like the state is really slow and really just, he brings up the case of one man, Clayton Holton, who was one of the therapeutic cannabis patients who's been working for years to convince those in the New Hampshire government to allow him the freedom to obtain and use his medicine without threats of violence. Unfortunately, Clayton has become another victim of the drug war, and his blood is on Maggie's hands. You see, Clayton suffered from a muscular dystrophy, a genetic disorder characterized by degeneration of muscle tissue. And in May of last year, when the therapeutic cannabis legislation was working its way through the New Hampshire legislature, Clayton wrote, quote, "The removal of the home grow provision means patients will continue to suffer without legal access to marijuana. Frankly, I don't expect to live another 2 years. So for me, this may as well be a death sentence." Clayton passed away earlier this week because of the death sentence handed down to him by Maggie Hassan. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to change the way you live? Are you going to live differently? Are you going to vote these politicians out? Are you going to stop voting altogether? Are you going to grow some pot and give it to some patients? Take some action.
Free Talk Live.
The result from the drug use, you cannot compare to caffeine or cigarettes. That's an immature.
Right. It's no, the result of the war on drugs. I can't compare.
The illegal use of drugs. Why don't we execute sellers?
Why don't we execute cigarette smokers?
Then we will no longer have to worry about people using drugs.
Well, all right. There are more than 100,000 people convicted of drugs every year. You want to execute all them too?
Okay, wow.
Yeah, look how much money we take. 30,000 a year times 100,000. Okay, you know, if we took the Singapore or the Middle East model,
then we'd have a state like Singapore or the Middle East.
President, maybe he can do that.
Because Singapore and the Middle East have no drugs whatsoever in their countries, right?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Lil Drums. Every bit as fun as a full-size Nestle drumstick cone, and definitely cuter. Visit us at drumstick.com. Vacations are all about family time, but you don't have to leave home to have fun. Take 1 weekend a month and devote it to family activities. Pull out the board games and puzzles, serve up some treats, or have a picnic. Even without leaving home, you'll feel like you've really had some time away. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Who did you let down today? Your wife? Your kids? Well, how about yourself? Take a look in the mirror. If you're tired of your drug and alcohol problem, you need to fix the problem, and right now, before you hurt or kill yourself, or worse yet, somebody else. Call the addiction specialist now at the Detox and Treatment Helpline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you have private insurance, we specialize in finding you the right treatment. When you call right now, you'll speak to a recovering addict who understands what you're going through right now. Let us help you break your addiction to drug and alcohol before it's too late. This call is completely confidential and free. So if you have private insurance, take 5 minutes of your time. Call right now. I promise it'll change your life. 800-208-5187. 800-208-5187. 800-208-5187. Call right now. 800-208-5187.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Yeah, peaceful resistance. That's the word of the day, or the term, rather. I guess it's 2 words. Hey, let's talk about a man inside a courtroom who wears an F the Police shirt. Why is he doing that? I love this. When I went to court in 2011 to defend myself against charges of obstructing government administration, I wore a blazer, or a vest, rather, on my suit vest that had a little sewn in emblem or iconography, I guess, of my website and my website name, livefreeordance.com. At the time, it no longer exists. It's now derekj.me. But this man, he took it a little step further. I don't think I was going to have any problems putting my website on my back, but this guy wore the words F the police on his t-shirt. No, it didn't say F the police. It actually had the word spelled out. So this story comes from Carlos Miller at photographyisnotacrime.com. He writes, wearing an F the police shirt, Michael Burns entered a Broward courtroom with a videographer in tow, preparing to fight the obstructed license plate citation he received earlier this year after he was pulled over for recording deputies. Yes, those same deputies that Broward County Sheriff's Attorney Ron Gunsberger claimed in a panel discussion in January that are all trained to respect the rights of citizens to record because of a memo he issued last year. Sure. In fact, Broward deputies tried to stop Burns' friend from video recording, but Florida was very liberal, which has very liberal laws when it comes to recording hearings, allowed him to video record when he went in the afternoon. He said he had it ready to pull up on his phone in case it went that far, but it didn't. Okay, good. So he's got an article that he was ready to say, hey, look, you can record. I've got the article right here on my phone. But they believed him. Not only was his friend allowed to video record the trial, he won the trial after arguing his case pro se against Deputy Paul Seda, who was claiming he could not make out Burns' license plate after first ordering him away from video recording and investigation on the side of the road. The audio on the recording is not the clearest, but Judge Brenda D'Olio said that following the hearing that both sides and seeing the license plate, quote, "If there's any questions, I can think it can go back both ways and we would never find out. So on that basis, I'm going to find that the state has not made their burden of proof." Wow. It doesn't appear that she saw the F the police statement on the back of Burns' shirt until after the ruling when he was walking out, but all deputies in the courtroom surely saw it. Below is a picture of his plate. The Fraternal Order of Police badge was given to him by a friend years earlier. Burns also told a Miami Beach police officer to F off during the Memorial Day weekend after we were both harassed for video recording them in public. That article from Carlos Miller of photographyisnotacrime.com. Just a terrific website, really putting accountability on the officers who want to take away video cameras. They want to take away people's rights. They want to act like authoritarians and have no responsibility of their own. Well, video cameras are changing that, and photographyisnotacrime.com is chronicling that transition to a free society thanks to video cameras and recording and people being brave enough to, take on the law, to go into court and say, I'm going to take on this challenge. I'm going to take this on as courageously as possible. I'm going to try and set a good example. So good on you, Michael Burns. I'm a fan. Well done. All right, let's turn to Glenn Greenwald. This is an important article this week. Fake terror threat justifies new war. What's he talking about? He says that U.S. officials have essentially invented the terror threat that exists today. Let's get into the article here from The Intercept. As the Obama administration prepared to bomb Syria without congressional or UN authorization, it faced two problems. The first was the difficulty of sustaining public support for a new years-long war against ISIS, a group that clearly posed no imminent threat to the homeland. A second was the lack of legal justification for launching a new bombing campaign with no viable claim of self-defense or UN approval. The solution to both problems was found in the wholesale concoction of a new brand of terror threat that was branded the Courtroom Group. After spending weeks depicting ISIS as an unprecedented threat, too radical even for Al-Qaeda, administration officials suddenly began spoon-feeding their favorite media organizations and national security journalists tales of a secret group that was even scarier and more threatening than ISIS. One that posed a direct and immediate threat to the American homeland. Seemingly out of nowhere, a new terror group was created in media lore. The unveiling of this new group was performed in a September 13th article by the Associated Press, who cited unnamed U.S. officials to warn of this new shadowy, worse than ISIS terror group. Here's what they said, quote, "While the Islamic group, ISIS, is getting the most attention now, another band of extremists in Syria, a mix of hardened jihadists from Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria, and Europe, poses a more direct and imminent threat to the United States, working with Yemeni bomb makers to target U.S. aviation," American officials say. At the center is a cell known as the Courtroom Group, a cadre of veteran al-Qaeda fighters from Afghanistan and Pakistan who traveled to Syria to link up with the al-Qaeda affiliate there, the Nusra Front. But the Courtroom militants did not go to Syria principally to fight the government and President Bashar Assad, U.S. officials say. Instead, they were sent by al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri to recruit Europeans and Americans whose passports allow them to board a U.S.-bound airliner with less scrutiny from security officials. The AP warned Americans that, quote, "The fear is that the Courtroom militants will provide these sophisticated explosives to their Western recruits who could sneak them onto U.S.-bound flights." It explained that Although ISIS has received most of the attention, the Khorasan group is, quote, considered the more immediate threat. The genesis of the name itself is scary. Quote, Khorasan refers to a province under the Islamic Caliphate, a religious empire of old that includes parts of Afghanistan. The AP depicted U.S. officials who were feeding them the narrative as engaged in some sort of act of brave, unauthorized truth-telling. Quote, many U.S. officials interviewed for the story would not be quoted by name. Talking about what they said was highly classified intelligence. On the morning of September 18th, just less than 2 weeks ago, CBS News broadcast a segment that as pure war propaganda as it gets, directly linking the soon-to-arrive U.S. bombing campaign in Syria to the need to protect Americans from being exploded in civilian jets by Khorasan. With ominous voice tones, the host narrated, quote, this morning we are learning of a new and growing terror threat coming out of Syria. It's an Al-Qaeda cell you've probably never heard of. Nearly everything about them is classified. Bob Orr is in Washington with new information on a group some consider more dangerous than ISIS. Orr then announced that while ISIS is a dominating headlines and terrorist propaganda, Orr's sources warn of a more immediate threat to the U.S. homeland. As Orr spoke, CBS flashed alternating video showing scary Muslims in Syria and innocent Westerners waiting in line at airports as he intoned that U.S. officials have ordered enhanced screening for hidden explosives. This is all coming, Orr explained, from an emerging threat in Syria, where hardened terrorists are building hard-to-detect bombs. Be afraid, America. Be very afraid. That's when you're at your most vulnerable. That's when you will somehow support wars that you didn't support last week. So ditch the fear. This is Peace News.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See the Liberty Radio Network's key New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin? Any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
Keenvention is coming up October 31st through November 2nd. Get your tickets now at keenvention.info. Keenvention is your chance to meet dozens of key liberty activists from across the Shire. You can explore the beautiful little city of Keene, discuss various forms of activism with seasoned veterans, attend social events like the costume party. Keenvention received rave reviews last year. If you missed it, visit keenvention.info for full video coverage of every speaker and panel. This year, James Robin Hood Cleveland, Rich Paul, and Free State Project President Carla Garrick will be keynoting. And we'll have all kinds of panels, including the new Cop Block panel and the new Movers panel hosted by the outlaw Josie Wales. Join old and new friends and neighbors in Keene for Keenvention this October 31st through November 2nd. Only 100 tickets are available in advance, so lock yours in now for just $60 or with Bitcoin. Reserve your tickets now at keenvention.info. Visit keenvention.info for more, or look for our page and event on Facebook. That's keenvention.info.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Welcome back to Peace News. I'm your host, Derek J. You can learn about me at my website, derekj.me. You know, I just uploaded a bunch of old articles, videos, live streams, all sorts of things that you can catch from Freedom Fiends, Free Talk Live, Cop Block Radio, Bitcoin Talk Show. There's a lot going on in the world of peaceful resistance and in the world of Derek J. So check it all out at derekj.me. Now we turn back to a story from The Intercept, where Glenn Greenwald, that brave reporter who's broken so many stories, including the Edward Snowden revelations about the NSA warrantless spying, the Dragnet program of collection of data by the federal government, he's now breaking another story about a fake terror threat. Why does he think it's fake? Well, we're getting into it here. The U.S. government, Orr explained, is trying to keep this all a secret. They won't even mention the group's name in public out of security concerns. But Orr was there to reveal the truth, as his sources confirm the Al-Qaeda cell goes by the name Khorasan, and they're developing fresh plots to attack U.S. aviation. Later that day, Obama administration officials began publicly touting the group, when Director of National Intelligence James Clapper warned starkly, quote, "In terms of the threat to the homeland, Khorasan may pose as much of a danger as the Islamic State." Then followed an avalanche of uncritical media reports detailing this supreme threat, excitingly citing anonymous officials as though they had uncovered a big secret the government was trying to conceal. This sounds a lot to me like the government's like, hey, how do we drum up support for a new war? Oh, okay, well, we've got all this information. We tell our friends at CBS, NBC, and ABC to put out this information from anonymous sources and credible sources, and just put out this information saying that the government doesn't want them to know it. And then when you put the information out, people are just going to eat it up, dig it up, and then say, okay, this is what the government doesn't want me to know. Meanwhile, we have planted all of this information into their heads. It just seems like that's the obvious plot that's going on here. Maybe that's what Glenn Greenwald is speculating. Maybe I'm just jumping the gun. Let's get into what he thinks. On September 20th, the New York Times devoted a long article to strongly hyping the Khorasan group. Headlined, quote, U.S. suspects more direct threats beyond ISIS. The article began by announcing that U.S. officials believe a different group, other than ISIS, posed a more direct threat to America and Europe. Specifically, quote, American officials said that the group called Khorasan had emerged in the past year as the cell in Syria that may be the most intent on hitting the United States, or its installations overseas with a terror attack. The officials said the group is led by Muhsin al-Fadli. Muhsin al-Fadli, a senior Qaeda operative who, not Al-Qaeda operative? That's weird. A senior Qaeda operative, maybe that's the same thing, who, according to the State Department, was so close to bin Laden that he was among a small group of people who knew about the September 11th, 2000 attacks before they were launched. Wow. There's a lot in that quote. That was really confusing. Okay, so this came from the New York Times, and this is the quote. They say the American officials said the group Khorasan emerged in the past year in a cell in Syria, and that they're intent on hitting the United States or its installations overseas. The group is led by Muhsin al-Fadli, or Fadli. Man, these names are so confusing. I need just a lesson in reporting on these stories. I wonder if there's some website or something you could go to that has all these names in the news phonetically spelled out so that we don't all sound like idiots when we get it wrong. Continuing along with the story here, saying, again, the threat they posed reached all the way to the U.S. Quote, members of the cell are said to be particularly interested in devising terror plots using concealed explosives. You know what that means? Less freedom for you at home. This Khorasan attacking Americans alarm spread quickly and explosively in the landscape of U.S. national security reporting. The Daily Beast's Eli Lake warned on September 23rd, just 1 week ago, and the day after the first U.S. bombs fell in Syria, that, quote, American analysts had pieced together detailed information on a pending attack from an outfit that informally called itself the Khorasan Group, to use hard-to-detect explosives on American and European airliners. He added even more ominously, the planning from the Khorasan Group suggests at least an aspiration to launch more coordinated and larger attacks on the West in the style of the 9/11 attacks from 2001. Days later, Lake, along with Josh Rogan, actually claimed that, quote, Iran has long been harboring senior al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, and so-called Khorasan group leaders as part of its complicated strategy to influence the region. On the day of the bombing campaign, NBC News' Richard Engel tweeted this, quote, officials say Khorasan is a threat to the U.S. because it aims to bring down airplanes with explosives. Wow. The tweet linked to an NBC Nightly News report in which anchor Brian Williams introduced Khorasan with a graphic declaring it the new enemy. And Engel went on to explain that the group is considered a threat to the U.S. because, U.S. intelligence officials say, it wants to bring down airplanes with explosives. Okay, so we're getting a repeated narrative from the mainstream media here. Who are they? This is the new threat, the new boogeyman, the new enemy. I mean, that's literally what they've got. This is what I can't even believe what I'm seeing on my screen here. I've got to screen share it for you here. So take a look. This is Brian Williams on NBC Nightly News in front of a graphic that's declaring this new boogeyman, the Khorasan Group, the new enemy. So we're done with Al-Qaeda. That boogeyman's dead. Osama bin Laden is dead. Now it's, oh my God, the airliners are going to be attacked by this group, and they're almost kind of European, sort of American. We're not really sure. We don't have all the facts, but we got to bomb Syria anyway. Crazy. I mean, this justification is straight out of 1984. We've always been at war with East Asia. And then when the war changes to Oceania, we've always been at war with Oceania. Once the bombing campaign was underway, ISIS, the original theme of the attack, largely faded into the background. As Obama officials said, media allies aggressively touted attacks on Khorasan leaders and the disruption of its American targeting plots. On the first day of the bombing, the Washington Post announced that, quote, the United States also pounded a little-known but well-resourced al-Qaeda cell that some American officials fear could pose a direct threat to the United States. It explained. I mean, there is like, it makes me angry, and I try and have a little more control over my emotions to not let these people get me so upset. But it just, It gets me so sad that there are people in the world who go around and do violence on other people's dime and then try and justify it by telling those people lies. That's exactly what's happening with the military. It's always what's happened. Group of angry thugs, they go around, they beat people up and destroy things, make the world a hellhole, and then they make you pay for it and then tell you lies so that you're afraid enough to keep shelling out the money for it. So be afraid, America. Quote, the Pentagon said in a statement early Tuesday that the United States conducted 8 strikes west of Aleppo against the cell called the Courtroom Group, targeting its, quote, training camps, an explosives and munitions production facility, a communications building, and a command and control facilities. The same day, CNN claimed that among the targets of U.S. strikes across Syria early Tuesday was the Courtroom Group. The bombing campaign in Syria was thus magically transformed into an act of pure self-defense, given that the group was actively plotting against the U.S. homeland target and Western targets, a senior U.S. official told CNN on Tuesday. A senior U.S. official, they don't even have to name their sources. That should give you a clue. When someone says that, oh, you know, there's a threat and we have to bomb these people, maybe you should find out who that person is. Is that so crazy? Like, oh, hey, no, we could just go on this guy's word. He's a U.S. official, right? He hides under that title of official, so he must be right. The bevy of anonymous sources cited by CNN had a hard time keeping their stories straight. Quote, the official said the group posed an imminent threat. Another U.S. official later said the threat was not imminent in the sense that there were no known targets or attacks expected in the next few weeks. The plots were believed to be in an advanced stage, the second U.S. official said. There were indications that militants had obtained materials and were working on new improvised explosive devices that would be hard to detect, including common handheld electronic devices and airplane carry-on items such as toiletries. Oh my God, not the toiletries. Well, stop flying, America. Just give up all your freedom. Isn't that the answer? Maybe not. This is Peace News.
Andrew Michael Jones is a liberty-loving activist and participant in the Free State Project. He's also been accused of being one of the administrators of the infamous Silk Road Anonymous Black Marketplace. Andrew is facing a federal trial for multiple crimes with no victim. Whether or not he's the Silk Road administrator named Inigo, he has not been accused of harming anyone. In fact, the Silk Road is actually an amazing advancement that has reduced the overall harm of the black market to both customers and drug sellers. Whether or not he did it, Andrew, like alleged Silk Road founder Ross Ulbricht, deserves the support of people who love liberty. Visit drewsdefense.org to learn more and contribute to his defense. You can donate via PayPal or in Bitcoin, as I did. That's drewsdefense.org. Drew's family does not have much, and his parents have put up their home and both retirement incomes to secure a $1 million bond on Andrew. He's currently on 24/7 house arrest and is prohibited from touching any device that could connect to the internet. Please contribute to his defense fund via drewsdefense.org.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
More Peace News Now is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, September 30th, 2014. Silver is trading at $17.28 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,208 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $382. Antiwar.com reports the inauguration of new Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani ends months of uncomfortable bickering over the highly fraudulent presidential vote and also the questions surrounding the continuation of the NATO occupation of the country. Though President Obama had initially set a deadline for a troop deal as of December 31st, 2013, that deadline was missed and then some, with then Afghan President Karzai refusing to budge. New President Ghani, whose rise to power has more to do with a U.S. brokered power-sharing deal than the election itself, will sign a deal today. The deal will keep roughly 12,500 NATO troops, 10,000 of them Americans, occupying Afghanistan through 2014 and beyond, under terms U.S. officials found favorable. NATO has made a big deal about the war ending at the end of this year, though there doesn't appear to be a significant transition planned between now and January, and the war as it presently exists seems set to continue more or less forever. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports U.S. bankruptcy judge Stephen Rhodes ruled on Monday that Detroit can continue shutting off water service to non-paying customers, saying his court does not have the jurisdiction over the issue and that suspending disconnections for 6 months could hurt the city's finances. The judge said Detroit cannot afford any revenue slippages before resuming his ongoing hearing on Detroit's plan to exit the biggest ever municipal bankruptcy. He said there was a strong correlation between disconnections and the city's collection of delinquent bills. Detroit's bankruptcy plan includes a $4.5 million water affordability fund and a cap on rate increases. It also creates a regional water authority, which Rhodes said could be put in jeopardy by a revenue drop from unpaid bills. Residents and political activists have asked Rhodes for a 6-month restraining order against the shutoffs. Last week, during a break in the bankruptcy hearing, Rhodes heard arguments about the financial and social impacts of cutting off the water of hundreds of homes each day. There had been questions over whether or not the judge could issue an order, since his role is to decide if Detroit's bankruptcy plan is fair and feasible, not to oversee city operations. On Monday, he said the bankruptcy code does not allow a federal court to interfere with the choices a municipality makes in services it will provide. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. The Associated Press reports traffic at Chicago's two busiest airports was slowly returning to more normal levels 3 days after a fire at a regional air traffic control center disrupted much of the nation's air travel system. The FAA had temporarily assigned other controllers to oversee the airspace normally covered by the crippled suburban facility, but full service may not be restored for 2 weeks. A closer look at some key details surrounding the many delays and cancellations includes that since Friday morning, more than 3,700 flights have been canceled at O'Hare and Midway airports, the second and 21st largest airports by passenger volume. United Airlines and its regional partners canceled 1,579 flights. American Airlines and its regional carriers canceled 1,415 flights. Southwest Airlines canceled 601 flights, and Delta had canceled 46. The vast majority of the canceled flights were on regional partner airlines. The FAA said on Monday that the takeoff and landing rate at O'Hare was at 80% of the same time from last week, while Midway was at more than 90% from the same time last week. Luckily for the airlines and passengers, the area has experienced mostly calm weather with no severe thunderstorms that could further slow flights. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
CEO Jeff Potkel went berserk earlier this morning, becoming drenched in his own blood and the blood of several employees as he viciously demanded the staff produce more web video content, or he would, quote, kill them all.
We need more videos! Videos with bands! Random videos! Funny videos! I want a video with a celebrity! I don't give a shit which one! You think this is funny? I'll show you funny! Hey!
office manager's body against the door and then told us that nobody could leave unless we came up with 3 original video ideas. Then he made us watch as he bit his own tongue in half.
People don't want to read. They want videos. They want to sit at work and watch videos. Videos need to go viral. Viral! Viral! Viral!
This is the Onion News Network.
Welcome back. This is Peace News. We're at the top of the second hour here. It's 11 p.m. in Keene, in the Shire. This Tuesday, September 30th, 2014. I'm live, and I'm taking your calls. 443-424-8347 is the Hi-Fi Civ Disc call-in line. You can also send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now, and it will be accepted. You can also tweet at DerekJME. I want to hear from you, especially about what you think of this new threat. No, not ISIS, the Khorasan group. They're even bigger and badder. They live in Syria and apparently are doing lots of evil things, planning imminent attacks on America. And they're using toiletries, flammable toiletries, things like toothpaste. Oh, my God. So, you know, the world isn't safe. You're not safe. Stop trying to be free. Just go home, live in your houses, and work for the man. And don't question the official story. All right, so we're talking about this article by Glenn Greenwald. He's a prominent journalist who uncovers stories like the Edward Snowden revelations, and he's got his own website here, The Intercept, where he blogs about, you know, what's really going on in the world. And he's speculating that this terror threat justifying the bombing of Syria is baloney. And here he is making the case. He's saying, you know, there's anonymous sources cited by CNN and other mainstream news outlets. They seem to have contradicting claims here. One official said the group was an imminent threat. Another official later claimed the threat was not imminent, but there was a sense of impending attacks, maybe not in the next few weeks, but long coming. It's not really clear. They have no official story yet. But don't let that stop anonymous officials from putting their own stories out there. So nonetheless, Greenwald writes, what was clear, even though these people can't get their story straight, was that this group had to be bombed in Syria to save American lives, as the terrorist group even planned to conceal explosive devices in toothpaste or flammable clothing as a means to target U.S. airliners. The day following the first bombings, Attorney General Eric Holder claimed, quote, "We hit them last night out of concern that they were getting close to an execution date of some of the plans that we have seen." CNN's supremely stenographic Pentagon reporter, Barbara Starr, went on air as videos of shiny new American fighter jets in the Syria bombing were shown and explained that this was all necessary to stop a Khorasan attack because being very close, they were very close to carrying out an attack against the West. Quote, "What we're hearing from a senior U.S. official is the reason they struck Khorasan right now is they had intelligence that the group of Al-Qaeda veterans was in the stages of planning an attack against the U.S. homeland and/or an attack against a target in Europe, and the information indicated Khorasan was well on its way, perhaps in its final stages of planning that attack." Really? What source? Again, anonymous sources, U.S. officials. All of that laid the fear-producing groundwork for President Obama to claim self-defense when he announced the bombing campaign on September 23rd with this boast. "Once again, it must be clear to anyone who would plot against America and try to do Americans harm that we will not tolerate safe havens for terrorists who threaten our people." This tweet from Ken Delanian, Joint Chiefs Chairman Martin Dempsey, quote, "We hit the Khorasan group before they may have scattered, disrupted imminent attack planning." How do you all know? What evidence do you have to make these assertions, these claims? Oh, well, we bombed them because they were getting close. Well, don't ask for the evidence that they were getting close. Just know that we bombed them to keep you safe. Don't ask any questions. And keep paying for our wars. The very next day, a Pentagon official claimed a U.S. airstrike killed the Khorasan leader. And just a few days after that, U.S. media outlets celebrated what they said was the admission by jihadi social media accounts that the leader of the al-Qaeda-linked Khorasan group was killed in a U.S. airstrike in Syria. But once it served its purpose of justifying the start of the bombing campaign in Syria, the Khorasan narrative simply evaporated as quickly as it materialized. Foreign Policy's Shane Harris, with two other writers, was one of the first to question whether the threat was anywhere near what it had been depicted to be. And this is the problem with governments that lie. Of course, all governments lie, but this is the problem with lying, is that you can't trust them. It's the boy who cried wolf. Oh, they have weapons of mass destruction. We don't want the smoking gun that comes in the form of a mushroom cloud, so we've got to destroy the Middle East and turn it into glass. Okay, so you make people afraid, and then they see, oh, wait a minute, we've spent billions, trillions of dollars on a war that was pointless, only created more enemies, made the world a less safe place, and advanced only the Pentagon's agenda. Well, how are we better off 10 years later? We're still involved in these wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we have no evidence that there was ever even a threat in the first place. So now here comes the next threat. Oh, it's in Syria, it's Khorasan group. Oh, okay, well, good thing we got them. But we're not going to stop bombing Syria. Good thing you were afraid enough for a couple of days for the president to go on TV and say, we had to do it. We had to keep you safe. I'm just your daddy, and I'm looking out for you. Okay, son? Ridiculous, okay? The American people, they don't buy it. They're not buying it. You're not buying it. We all know that it's BS. But you know what needs to happen is for people to start taking action and saying, I'm not going to pay for these wars. You have to stand up and say, I am going to dissociate myself, my energy, my life force from these wars. Okay, and only you have the power to make that decision. I know it's a tough one. I know there are risks. I'm aware. There are other things that you can do to mitigate those risks, like moving to New Hampshire, joining a freedom-loving community of people who will support you for making such a decision. Let's continue with this article. At The Intercept, firstlook.org. So this from Shane Harris, he says in Foreign Policy, quote, but according to top U.S. counterterrorism officials, as well as Obama himself, there is, quote, no credible information that the militants of the Islamic State were planning to attack inside the United States. Although the group could pose a domestic terrorism threat if left unchecked, any plot it tried launching today would be limited in scope and nothing like a 9/11 scale attack. That from Matthew Olson, the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, who spoke in remarks at the Brookings Institution earlier this month. That would suggest that Khorasan doesn't have the capability either, even if it's working to develop it. Khorasan has the desire to attack, though we're not sure their capabilities match their desire, a U.S. counterterrorism official told Foreign Policy. I'm so frustrated by these anonymous sources. The senior U.S. counterterrorism official. Well, who's that? Can I check his credentials? Can I check his record? Has he been right before? Or does he just make up lies for the administration? And that's his only job, is to be an official who makes up lies and then puts them out to the mainstream public to justify wars. I'm getting skeptical. On September 25th, the New York Times, just days after hyping the Khorasan threat to the homeland, wrote that the group's evolution from obscurity to infamy has been sudden, and the paper of record began for the first time to note how little evidence actually existed for all those claims about the imminent threats posed to the homeland. Here, from the New York Times, quote, American officials have given differing accounts of just how close the group was to mounting an attack and about what chance any plot had of success. One senior American official on Wednesday described the Khorasan group plotting as aspirational and said that there didn't yet seem to be a concrete plan in the works. So literally, within a matter of days, we went from perhaps in its final stages of planning its attack from CNN to plotting as aspirational, and there didn't seem to be a concrete plan in the works from the New York Times. I'm getting conflicting reports. This is Peace News.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
Shortly after members of the New York Police Department found a super sharp Buck brand pocket knife earlier this morning, Lieutenant Joseph Mattioli spoke to Onion reporters at the scene of the discovery to update the public on this potentially deadly blade.
At 8:40 a.m., police discovered what seems to be a pretty badass buck knife. Investigators believe it to be basically the deadliest knife ever.
Mattioli confirmed that the pretty cool wood-handled knife has a clean edge and added that the blade must be, quote, at least like 8 inches long.
At this time, we'd like everyone to be aware that there's probably a man out there with an eye patch and scars all over his face that has access to these knives, or maybe even a samurai sword. We urge people to be careful when approaching him because he may flip out and chop both your arms off before you even realize it.
Following the announcement, Mattioli asked people to come forward if they had any information about the owner of the knife or if they just wanted to hold it for a couple of seconds. For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News. I'm your host, Eric J. We're in a story, deep in this story by Glenn Greenwald at The Intercept, who's writing about why he believes U.S. officials invented a new terrorist group to justify bombing Syria. He's making a strong case here. He's got lots of links to articles of officials, unnamed, of course, who claim there's an imminent threat. Oh my God, they're attacking us next week. And then, actually, their hopes at attacking the U.S. are aspirational. Well, late last week, Associated Press's Ken Delanian, the first to unveil the new Khorasan project in mid-September, published a new story explaining that just days after bombing Khorasan targets in Syria, high-ranking U.S. officials seemingly backed off all their previous claims of an imminent threat from the group. Headlined, U.S. officials offer more nuanced take on Khorasan threat, it noted that, quote, several U.S. officials told reporters this week that the group was in the final stages of planning an attack on the West, leaving the impression that such an attack was about to happen. But now, quote, senior U.S. officials offered a more nuanced picture Thursday of the threat they believe is posed by an al-Qaeda cell in Syria, targeted in military strikes this week, even as they defended the decision to attack the militants. James Comey, the FBI director, and Rear Admiral John Kirby, the Pentagon spokesman, each acknowledged that the U.S. did not have precise intelligence about where or when the cell, known as the Khorasan Group, would attempt to strike a Western target. Kirby, and remember, he's the Pentagon spokesman, briefing reporters at the Pentagon, said, quote, I don't know that we can pin down a day or a month or a week or 6 weeks. We can have this debate about whether it was valid to hit them or not, or whether it was too soon or too late. We hit them. And I don't think we need to throw up a dossier here to prove that these are bad dudes. That's a quote. We hit them. Therefore, they are bad dudes. Okay? Maybe Glenn Greenwald's going to break down this quote, but I've got a little bit to say on that. Regarding the claims that an attack was imminent, Comey said, I don't know exactly what that word means, imminent. A rather consequential admission, given that said imminence was used as the justification for launching military action in the first place. Oh, actually, I don't know what that word means, but it's because they're an imminent threat that we need to go attack them. But I don't know what that means. BS detector is going off. Even more remarkable, it turns out that the very existence of an actual Khorasan group was to some degree an invention of the American government. NBC's Engel, the day after he reported on the U.S. government's claims about the group for nightly news, seemed to have a serious second thought about the group's existence, tweeting, quote, Syrian activists telling us they've never heard of Khorasan or its leader. Indeed, a Nexus search for the group found almost no mentions of its name prior to the September 13th AP article based on anonymous officials. There was one oblique reference to it as a July 31st CNN op-ed by Peter Bergen. The other mention was an article in the LA Times from 2 weeks earlier about Pakistan, which mentioned the group's name as something quite different than how it's being used now, as, quote, the intelligence wing of the powerful Pakistani Taliban faction led by Hafiz Gul-Badr. Tim Surik noted that the name appears in a 2011 hacked Stratfor email published by WikiLeaks, referencing a Dawn article that depicts them as a Pakistan-based group, which was fighting against an expelled by, not led by, Bahadur. So there's all sorts of conflicting information there, and this is confusing with the names being foreign and about the different news reports, all these different quotes. Yes, it can get confusing. I'm trying to unpack this, make it less confusing for us so that we can understand what's really going on here, because it seems like someone's lying. There are serious questions about whether the Khorasan group even exists in any meaningful or identifiable manner. Aki Peretz, a CIA counterterrorism official until 2009, told Time, quote, I'd certainly never heard of this group while working at the agency, while Obama's former U.S. ambassador told ambassador to Syria, Robert Ford, said, quote, "We use the term Khorasan inside the government. We don't know where it came from. All I know is that they don't call themselves that." As The Intercept was finalizing this article, former terrorism federal prosecutor Andrew McCarthy wrote in National Review that the group was a scam. Quote, "You haven't heard of the Khorasan group because there isn't one. It's a name that the administration came up with, calculating that Khorasan had sufficient connection with jihadist lore that no one could call the president on it." Wow. So what happened here is all too familiar. The Obama administration needing pragmatic and legal rationale for bombing yet another predominantly Muslim country. While emotions over the ISIS beheading videos were high, they were not enough to sustain a lengthy new war. What's this? The seventh mostly Muslim country that this Nobel Peace Prize winning president has bombed? Isn't that interesting? Especially for a person who so many conservatives claim is a Muslim. So after spending weeks promoting ISIS as worse than Al-Qaeda, they unveiled a new, never-before-heard-of group that was worse than ISIS. Overnight, the first bombs on Syria fell. The endlessly helpful U.S. media mindlessly circulated the script that they were given, that this new group was composed of hardened terrorists, posed an imminent threat to the U.S. homeland, and was in the final stages of plots to take down the U.S. civilian aircraft, and could launch a more coordinated and larger attacks on the West in the style of the 9/11 attacks from 2001. As usual, anonymity was granted to U.S. officials to make these claims. As usual, there was almost no evidence for any of this. Nonetheless, American media outlets, eager as always to justify American wars, spewed all of this with very little skepticism. Worse, they did it by pretending that the U.S. government was trying not to talk about all of this. It was too secret, but they, as intrepid digging journalists, managed to unearth it from their courageous sources. Once the damage was done, the evidence quickly emerged about what a sham this all was. But as always with these government media propaganda campaigns, the truth emerges only when it's impotent. An amazing article by Glenn Greenwald, a real journalist who does do the digging, who does cite his sources, and who puts the screenshots of all of these tweets and quotes right there in the article for you to examine. The Intercept at firstlook.org. Go there, check out, share the article with all your friends. It's too important not to share. Is the government coming up with new terror threats just to justify a new bombing campaign? What's really going on here? And how are you implicated? Are you still paying for these wars?
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love,
and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way.
Love as your guide.
And liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com. Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone. 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Welcome back. This is Peace News. You're listening online at LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. We're also syndicated on a few other stations, so go to peacenewsnow.com and check out all the links. You can throw our supporters some Bitcoin. You can also throw us some Bitcoin. That's how we're funded at peacenewsnow.com/donate, or by scanning the QR code that you see on your screen if you're watching at home on YouTube. So welcome to the program. We take your calls, 443-424-8347. You can also send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. We do have a couple of listeners on the line who will be calling in shortly. But first, we have a very special guest who joins us via Google Hangouts, a method by which we can have no other guests. So welcome, very special co-host Michelle Seven.
Hi, Derek J. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. What's on your mind tonight?
I'm so excited that I did this right the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, so I've been listening to your show. You sound great. You look so handsome in your black shirt there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I enjoyed listening to you talk about your epic party that you're going to have on Halloween at the Free Convention.
Oh, man, I cannot wait. Yeah, that's at the Keenvention.
I'm sorry, Keenvention, yep.
We're calling it the Halloween costume dance party.
Oh, great. And it sounds like there's a really good lineup of speakers.
Yeah. Speakers, blah, blah, blah. It'll be fun to hang out and my party. Come on, that's what it's really all about. We're raising money for Andrew Jones, who is a hero of mine. He's not getting enough attention in the mainstream media, so I'm trying to focus some attention and raise some money for him.
I'm actually going to be talking about him tomorrow on a Skype call with some ladies who are with FIJA.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting. So is that something you're doing as part of your Bitcoin Bell personality?
Yes, it's specifically regarding someone who's involved in a trial, but who, for reasons, can't mention that person in conjunction with mentioning that I'm going to be helping FIJA, because, of course, they can't endorse any particular person.
Absolutely.
But yes, I'm very much interested in Andrew's case and everything. I'm sorry?
What is FIJA? I'm like handing you a line. I know what FIJA is.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you kind of cut out there for a second. FIJA is Fully Informed Jury Association, and they teach people primarily about jury nullification, and it was what Julian Heiklin, who was a favorite activist of ours for a long time, who, gosh, I think he's 80 or at least.
Yeah, he's old, like 80 or 83 now.
Yes, he was arrested in New York City, which is where I'm going to be doing my activism for this particular little adventure I'm about to embark on.
Okay, when are you doing some Fully Informed Jury Association outreach?
Starting next week for the next 2 months.
You need some help? I want to come down and help.
I absolutely would love some help. You're always welcome. And I'm glad that you're volunteering on air rather than me having to, ask you.
I'm interested. First of all, it's New York City. That sounds like fun. And then second, we're doing outreach, letting people know that they have a pretty powerful...
the most powerful tool as a citizen, and I put that as a citizen in quotes.
As a citizen.
Is because I don't ever get asked to be on juries. I've never asked to be a juror, but and for those who are willing to do so, try not to look too enthusiastic, because if the prosecution sees that you're enthusiastic about being there, they're liable to not select you. Actually, as weird as that is.
That is a fact. There have been some victories in New Hampshire and other places because juries knew their power to nullify bad laws, to say, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, sure, the guy that you're bringing up in front of us, yeah, he committed the crime as written by law, but that's a dumb law. It shouldn't be a crime anyway. Set this guy free. He doesn't belong in jail.
Yes, and that is actually very relevant regarding Andrew's case, because of the some of the charges are drug related or money laundering, money transmitting.
I mean, essentially, that's what he's been charged with.
Yes, yes.
Allegedly operating a website, and should the owner be charged for what people are doing with that website? I don't know. Hopefully, the jury will say no. But do you know the date of his trial? Is that upcoming?
I don't know when Andrew's trial is, but I do know that Ross Ulbricht's trial is November 10th.
And Ross was a listener of Free Talk Live, a show which we have both participated in at freetalklive.com. And Andrew Jones is unique because he was actually a signer of the Free State Project, freestateproject.org. He was planning on moving to New Hampshire, had actually visited Ian Freeman here in Keene, New Hampshire in December of 2012 during an event called Social Sundays. He and his girlfriend came up to check out the place, see what it was like, and they were ready to move. So now he's sitting in a home. He's in a cage of sorts because his parents paid $1 million bail to set him free. Now what's the story? What's coming up next?
Well, I wanted to actually tie this into something that I read today that just made me so sad, and it made me, I thought about you, and I thought about my sons, and other young men who do something like carry a backpack around or a mail bag or whatever, and
sure.
And how to back up for a second, Aziza and I did another episode of Tea Time with Z and Me, which is a new.
What is that?
That's a new little show that I'm doing with my daughter Aziza, and we decided rather than to try. Instead of trying to make it perfect and then publish, we're just doing as you've advised me so many times, and just like get it out there and then tinker with it and fix it as you go along.
Yes. Is that working? Are you just...
Yeah, so we've got it from 46 minutes, and today this is our 4th episode, and it was 26 minutes.
Awesome.
So we've almost cut it in half, and whatever. And I'm trying to find where the market really likes, what their tolerance is for watching our sort of nuttiness, which is informative, and it's just me. It's my craziness. But so that's called Tea Time with Z and Me, and we did it on on being prepared, not prepping, and how we distinguish that a little bit. And
great topic.
Thank you. And so I was, just thinking about, that and came across this news piece. So sad. This young man, he was 17 years old. It was, I think, 2010, and he was picked up in Brooklyn. He's a young black man, and he was picked up by 2 cops who accused him of stealing someone's backpack. And he said, "No, dude, it wasn't me." And this is someone who had had run-ins before. He'd carjacked a delivery truck and gone for a joyride and crashed it in a parking lot as like a 15-year-old kid.
So he's not like totally random. The cops aren't just like, oh, hey, let's pick on this straight-A student. They were like, hey, let's pick on that kid who has been involved with crime before.
Yes. Which made me think of my son in terms of, like, he's been picked up and arrested for skateboarding a couple times, and he stole 5 Slim Jim jerkies from he didn't actually steal them. He walked out of the store with them drunk to talk to his friend, and the store manager came out and he said, "Hey, Faisal, are you going to pay for those?" And he was drunk, and he's like, yeah, I'm coming in. And there happened to be 2 cops that were walking into 7-Eleven at the time, and they said, "Wait, did you walk out of that store without paying for them?"
No.
And yeah. Faisal was arrested, fingerprinted, and received $600 in fines for that. And he paid for the one jerky he ate and gave back the 5 others.
Sure. Yeah, that's totally legit.
So here I am. I'm thinking about him and you and like all the young darlings in my life who have been on the wrong side of the law for doing nothing, right? And so this kid, 17 years old, he gets picked up. The police are like, "Oh, I'm sure it's going to be, we'll just take you down for a minute. Are you sure you didn't do anything?" He's like, "No, I didn't do anything."
Michelle, I want to hear the rest of this story. Okay. We have to take a quick trip to the free market, but we'll be back with Michelle 7.
35% of U.S. credit accounts are facing collection
issues. Is there a link for this story?
I'm going to send it to you.
Excellent. Yeah, I would love to link that in the show notes. How's everything going? Tea Time with Z and Me. I didn't get to watch the episode yet, but I saw your link, and I'll watch that tonight.
I like it. I mean, it's not as like silly. We're just trying to find our groove, and kind of, we know that we work well off each other. We're just trying mostly to find out what the best amount of time is to keep people's attention, and then we'll be able to fine tune and make it slicker, cooler, better, funkier, all that stuff,
Of course. Yeah, but you're building that foundation first. That's really exciting.
Yes.
It's awesome.
So let me do this real quick.
And just to give you a warning, because we are broadcasting.
We're on YouTube right now.
We are on YouTube.
Okay. Yes. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Did you go on your date?
Yes, I went on a date. I've gone on several dates, but rather than talk about that while we're live, a show or a new project that I've been spending a lot of time on, which is building a new store here in Keene. James Robin Hood Cleveland, who is a hero of mine. He's just done so much wonderful activism since he moved to Keene. Has energized the Robin Hood efforts, and
because that was Jason's thing, wasn't it?
Well, that was a lot of people's things. It, I think, started a long time ago with Lauren Canario, in fact.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that she was doing that. That must have been before 2010.
Yes, it was a long time ago, probably 2007-ish.
Wow.
Then, once upon a time, there was a man named Sean Murphy who was...
I know Sean, yes.
He was taking on the Robin Hood I don't know, project, and he was doing it in sort of a funny way. He was wearing a cape.
Yeah.
So that, you know, if he were brought into court, they would not be able to make the objection that he doesn't wear a cape every day. So he would be able to wear a cape into court to defend himself.
As a superhero.
I thought that was a really clever idea as a peaceful resistor. And then, so James Robin Hood Cleveland, he's decided to, you know, stop with the Robin Hood thing, or you know, bring it back a little bit. It's already gotten a lot of international news. It's in the state Supreme Court. You know, he's done a great job with that. Now he's moving on to the next most needed thing, which is a business. We need free stater businesses here
Absolutely.
in New Hampshire, all across the way, giving people jobs, making money, giving people opportunities. So that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be a part of. So I am the store manager over at the new store, which has not yet opened. Will open soon, and I'm really excited about it. Today we set up some store fixtures. We set up some shelving units, put up some desks, and we're making it. You know, it's the equivalent of making a house a home. You know, we're making our store, and like. It's exciting to like wax the floors and stuff, you know, like
yeah, that is great.
Hey, it's gonna be a real thing. It's not just in our heads.
That's great. Yeah. Now, Adamo and I think Silver Dave and Kate and Bo didn't they create a store up in North New Hampshire?
Yeah, they had the Laconia Free Market. There have been other Free Stater stores. This is just another one. We're coming back.
Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Welcome back to Peace News. This is our final segment, so make your calls quickly. 443-424-8347 or Skype Peace News now. I know we have another caller on the line who wants to get on. Plus, we've got news stories that we're just not going to get to. Camille, Paglia, stop infantilizing college campuses, how to fake an ISIS beheading video, Julian Assange jumping into the United States via hologram.
That was so cool.
It was like Star Wars. It was like better than Star Wars because he wasn't all shrunken and small and blue. It was like full color, full size. He even high-fived his interview.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's just like, you know, we talk. I was listening to you earlier, and I was thinking, okay, this is Peace News now, and so many times it's so easy to get hung up on all the crap that's going on. Just as I was telling you the story about this young man, and it was the Bronx, not Brooklyn, Khalif, who was improperly arrested and what have you. But it's so easy. There's so much disgusting garbage going on with the police and the state and the militarization of this place called the United States and the whole world at large. It's just going crazy. But then when you hear about something great, it's just it's awesome. And right now, technology is the big disruptor.
Yep.
Whether it's Bitcoin or these holograms, it is just, and it's so nice that the smart people, the bullies, the you know, frat boys they're getting passed over and they're becoming redundant with their bullying tactics, and I'm really stoked. That's good news, I think.
It's a great time to be alive, no doubt. It's very exciting, even though there are horrors that are happening in the world and more shocking ones every day. It's important to keep that in mind, that technology is empowering the individual. And that means you and me are more free in some ways.
Yeah.
So tell the story about Khalif here.
Yeah.
Was he using technology to empower himself?
No, and in fact, so this article comes out of the New Yorker. It's rather long. It's called Before the Law. And the short of it is he said he's been at Rikers. He was at Rikers for 3 years and never had a trial that entire time. He was waiting trial for 3 years, from 2 weeks before he turned 17 years old until just after turning 20. And so he didn't get to finish high school. He wasn't a bad student. I mean, you know, he wasn't a bad kid. He just was screwing around. And so the judge, after 3 years, pulled him up and said, yeah, there's really not enough evidence, so we're just going to let you go. And he's like, no, wait, what? no, I'm not guilty. I want my day in court. And he thought that was bad, but really he's had a real struggle for the last 2 years since being out with adjusting to even his home life. He was used to being in solitary confinement, so he's uncomfortable eating around people and is uncomfortable, being outside, and it just messes up your mind so terribly. And this was someone who, I'm thinking, I think that's where Ross Ulrich is. That's where they were taking people through at Occupy Wall Street for crossing a bridge.
Yes.
To protest. It's just, So anyway, I was thinking about him and about you, and I'm glad that you had the show on tonight. I'm glad that I get to see that you're safe and that you look gorgeous as always. Your cheeks are so pink. You're looking so good. I love the rings, the bling.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and I just went through some things, some organizational things, and I came across the letters that you and I exchanged while you were in jail.
Wow, that is so important, and thank you for the reminder. There are political prisoners who are still in jail, like Rich Paul, and if people want to support them, writing letters is one of the best things you can do. You can write to Ross Ulbricht, you can write to, you can even write to Andrew Jones. Go to mailtojail.com to learn about activists who are currently...
I thought Mail to Jail wasn't going on anymore.
Mail to Jail's website has a functionality error, which doesn't allow you to type your message and then immediately send off to the prisoner. But you can still do it a still professional way, which means you send an email to an activist, and then that activist prints out your letter and then sends it off to the jail. So it's just a little slower than it used to be. Still. Yeah. Mailtojail.com. And thank you for writing to me, Michelle. You wrote actual handwritten letters, and that meant so much more. Not that I discount any letters that I was written. They were all wonderful to read and help keep a person feel like they're not so isolated. The goal of jail is to make you isolated from the outside world. And when people write, it keeps that connection, that flame alive that I think keeps us human.
I put cologne in yours. I sprayed yours with men's cologne, so you'd like that. And then back a few years, 2008 or 9, I wrote to some people, and I put lavender oil on the paper so that they could rub it and get it heated up, and then they could smell it, because you just need that to have your senses be cleansed, because you're in that. Just that environment that's awful.
Yeah, all soap smells like hospital soap. You don't see any colors. You don't hear any music aside from whatever's on the radio or top 40. So yeah, your senses are really deprived. And good on you for reaching out. That's something that anyone can do. The U.S. has a greater imprisoned population than the whole rest of the world combined. So if you're listening to this in the U.S., just consider that you're surrounded by people who are currently in cages, and you have the power to reach out to them and make their humanity more whole, to make them feel more alive.
What I'm surprised is that someone hasn't created something, and please don't say that I should do this, because that's what Ian would say. No, I'm not going to go create this, but someone might be interested in it. A pen pal thing with old people in retirement homes. Because they're used to handwriting letters. That generation still
That's a great idea.
Mail.
That's a perfect match.
Yes. Can you imagine Aunt Ricky writing to Andrew and telling him about what she's been doing and the new lady who had the hip replacement that just came in, or
That's a great idea. What a way for people to feel connected. And old people especially, they're not in jail, but in many ways they are imprisoned in their own homes. So this is
But they have a lot to say, and I think that'd be a really nice marriage.
Well, I used to have an idea when I was in jail. I was blogging, and I had a lot of pleasure from that because I felt, connected to the outside world. I was able to get my message outside of the jail walls because of friends who would blog on my behalf. And I was thinking it would be a great idea, and this hasn't been created yet, but it would be a great idea to have a blog from jail sort of website where people from jails all over the country could send one address, their letters. They would be either scanned or typed, and then just put on a blog. So you could see the jail blog. It would be all the different types of people, what they're writing about from jail, what abuses they've seen, what hardships they're having, or why they think they're innocent. You could read so much from these people who are trapped inside and silenced by authorities.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real, technology is empowering the individual and freeing humanity slowly but surely, and it's these types of ideas that I think really do the most good. Any other thoughts you want to share tonight, Michelle?
No, I've included the article from the New Yorker in the Hangout notes there, and I will send you more information after I get on this Skype call tomorrow for FIJA. And I won't be able to make your trip because, as we know, I don't go up to New Hampshire any longer because the courts really don't, whatever. Anyway, but I am going to be thinking of you as I do a haunted house for the music school in town, and it's going to be very scary, and I'm going to be thinking about you.
Ooh, that sounds fun. Well, have a great time, and thank you for plugging the Fully Informed Jury Association, a very important organization.
Absolutely. Big kiss, and give Ian a big hug, and I look forward to hearing of an acquittal for him.
Yes, I look forward to that as well. We're all hoping for the best. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, good night.
Good night. And now we turn to another caller who has been waiting patiently on the line, James in Arizona. Go ahead with your thoughts, James.
Well, the geniuses that were the founding fathers that assembled in Independence Hall near where you grew up had something in mind as to why they didn't think women should have the right to vote. And forgive me, it was just affirmed for the last half hour. Because fittingly, you just ran a commercial where one literally living in an echo chamber says, we want to learn from each other. Because I never call in to engage in positive reinforcement, Derek J., but only in an attempt to make a step in time.
We'll have to leave it there. If you want to make your calls and you want to get all your thoughts out, you're going to have to call in a little bit earlier to the show, but we'll catch you next time for this edition of Peace News. It's been Derek J. here with you. You can catch Michelle 7 at her website or on Twitter at BitcoinBell. Peace.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments